welcome to The Dog in the Pond. I am Kelly, and each week I will bring on 2 past Hollyoaks cast members to talk about their time on the show. I will find out all of the gossip for you, and we'll find out what they're up to now. So, if you have a favourite cast member that you want to get on our show, The Dog in the Pond, then you need to drop a comment in the box below or tweet me at Kelly Condron VO. So the last few guests that we've had on the show have been fantastic, and this week is no exception. Please welcome Matt Littler, aka Max Cunningham, and Bernie Latham, aka Mr. C. Hello, how are you both?
Oh, hello. Hello.
How good's this?
This is mad. Isn't the world mad now?
Right, Bernie, we need to clear something up, because in the past 2 shows, we've had Gemma Atkinson, Alex Carter, Ben Hull, James Redmond, all talking about the night at the Soap Awards that you ended up on a platform, half naked, dancing.
Not half naked. It was no point. Let's not get it mixed up. Bernie went all the way in. Bernie was fully bollock naked on the platform in front of everyone. He didn't do any half naked.
I need your story. It needs to come from the horse's mouth. Clear this up and we can put it to bed.
No, sir. Listen, I mean, basically, I watched Ben give his story and his version of it, and he was 80% correct. The only thing he missed out was the fact that the reason I went up on the podium in the first place was that Joe Hallows, our producer, was on the podium before me. And she was having a good old bop, and she was enjoying herself, and it was brilliant. And I have to say, I was quite...
Just to clear up, she wasn't naked, though, Bernie. She was just dancing.
No, I wasn't naked at the time. I just climbed up after her, and the other thing that Ben said that there's a film going about it. Well, there isn't. As far as I know, the cameraman at that time had finished filming. It was all party time. So if there is a film of it, it's on someone's phone. It's not a TV camera.
It was actually pre-camera phones, which is the only thing that probably stands in your favour. Yeah. At the time it was happening, I was stood just underneath the podium. So Bernie was on the podium here doing his thing. And I was stood down here, and I had one of those, those wind-up disposable cameras.
Are we going that far back, Matt?
Yeah, it was just so cool. And I thought, well, I'll take a Kodak wind-up camera, because that's what all the cool kids do. And I was winding it on, so I was like winding the camera on. I was like, oh, Bernie's on the podium. I was like looking for Daz or something. I was like, Bernie's on the... Snap, wind, snap. Oh, God, he's got his shirt off. Bloody hell, all right. Wind, snap. Oh, yeah, oh, God, yeah, wind. He's got his... Oh, God, he's got his trousers off. Oh, God. Wind. He won't go any further. No, he won't. Wind. Jesus Christ, he's naked. Oh, my God, he's naked. And then Bernie did this outstanding 2-foot straight leg dismount that looked like something like an Olympic diver would do off this like 6-foot high podium. Did you break your leg or something, Bernie, or your arm, or?
No, both my feet.
Broke his feet. Of course he broke his feet.
But Bernie, did you take your own pants down? Because the story that Ben was saying was that someone pulled them down.
Yeah. Ben said it was a mate of mine, but the only mate I brought to the Soap Awards was my wife, and she was stood with Joe Hallows at the time.
She definitely didn't pull them down.
I'll tell you who pulled them down. It was an actor from Emmerdale pulled them down. He was walking past, and Emmerdale were quite famous at the soaps because he always got pissed, more pissed than we did. And he walked past, and I had no intention of taking the underpants off, but off they came. And so, I thought, we'll go with it.
The actual funniest thing, though, I think, was the fact that Bernie's wife was stood down on the ground, and after he did his 2-foot dismount where he broke his feet, was just stood very politely holding his clothes and sort of helped him up off the ground. Lovely Jane helped him up off the ground, was like, come on, off we go. Like this has happened before, it'll happen again. I've just dealt with it, and we're going to leave now and hope that no one ever remembers this.
Well, they did, because there were consequences. Because when I got back to work on the Monday, I turned up in crutches, went straight up to Joe Hallows' office to apologise, and she just started laughing. Because she said, oh, it's all my fault. I started the dance. I said, yeah, but you didn't take your clothes off. And so then I went on set, and it was David Andrews directing. And I said to David, and he saw me in my crutches. I said, "Can you make sure I can just stand behind the counter and not move? Because it's very painful." And so he said, "Leave it with me." So I went off, came back, there were 2 tracks on the floor. And he was having a moving shot, and he made me climb over 2 tracks with his crutches. And then a month later, I was doing an episode with Charlie Dimmock in the Cunningham Garden, or whatever it was called at the time. And Phil Redmond turned up, and I'd been avoiding him for a month. And he was looking at me, and I went up to him and said, "Look, I apologise about, what I did at the soap. All I can do is..." Oh. So he said £5,000 fine. So I said, "What, for taking me the kecks off?" He said, "Yeah, £5,000 fine." So I said, "I can't afford that. You don't pay me that much." Eventually, we negotiated on set, and I had to write a cheque out for £500 to the Samaritan organisation. So I got punished anyway.
Yeah.
I didn't know that bit.
I didn't know that bit.
You.
Oh yeah, 5. But it was a good night.
Yeah. So we can put that to bed now. It's done. We don't need any more stories about Bernie being naked at the Soap Awards on a platform dancing and breaking his feet. It's done. Let's go back to the beginning then. Matt, so you started out on Hollyoaks. Your character was already cast.
Yeah, another lad was playing Max. He was called Ben Sharif, I think is his name. I don't know why they recast. I think the reason they recast was they wanted to create Max, Obi. Well, actually, they wanted to create a trilogy. Trinity? Trio. We'll have trio. Max, Obi, and Sash. Mark Arends played that character, and for a long time they tried to get this trio away, and I don't know, for whatever reason, it just never really didn't really work. They cast 3 of us, Max, Obi, and Sash, but I think the reason they didn't go on with Ben was they wanted a fresh start with this trio, and eventually the Sash character was sort of written out, and it was just Max and Obi, and I think it was probably about 8 months into production when I joined, or 9 months maybe. It'd been on a little while, and it was about 8 or 9 months in, and that's when I came in. So the Max character had been on a few times and sort of established its existence, and then they just recast it. I think had it gone on much longer, they probably wouldn't have been able to. So they knew what they wanted to do, and they only wanted to create.
But it all happened quite quickly from your first audition, didn't it?
Yeah, my agent, who God rest his soul, Peter, had sent in like a tape or something, or a recording of some performance he had of mine, and they sent it back and said, "Oh look, no, he's not the one, not interested." And then Peter came to see me in Greater Manchester Drama Federation like showcase thing. We've all done them, haven't we? We've all done the sort of GMDS stuff, haven't we? And he came to see me in one of those, and then kind of rang Dorothy Andrews, who was the then casting director, and was like, "Look, we just see this kid, just see him, because I actually, as an agent, I think he'd do all right." So they had me in on like the Monday. I went in on the Monday, did an audition, and I got through to like the second round, like X Factor. "Hey, Mum, I'm going to stay for my lunch."
So they did it all in one day?
No, it was over 2 days. I had to go back the next day.
Right.
Went back the next day, and the next day was with Phil Redmond. And yeah, it was with Phil Redmond, and we had to do this sort of improvisation thing. And we were in what was a Brookside set at the time. And we were improvising, me, Daz, and Mark, who got cast as Sash, and Daz, who got cast as OB. And someone dropped something outside, and all 3 of us reacted to it within the improvisation. And I think they kind of like that sort of free-flowing, that free-flow sort of creativity. They spent the next sort of 12 years knocking it out of us, but regardless, they liked that at that point, and that's why I think that's why they got cast. And I got cast on the Tuesday or the Wednesday, and then.
But what happened with the phone call and the agent?
Peter rang, and left a voicemail on my parents' answer phone. So kids, back before there were mobiles, you had a box that lived in your house, had a small tiny tape cassette in it. We'll deal with tape cassettes another time. and you recorded a message, and when you came home from wherever you were, you played the message back, and that's how you knew someone had tried to ring you, but you weren't in the house. And we got back from school, and there was a message saying, "Hi, Matt, it's Peter. Got some news about your audition. I'm just going to drive up to the Lake District to my cottage, so could you give me a ring after 8 o'clock tonight?" I was like, yeah, cool. This was 4 o'clock. The longest 4 hours of my entire life. I don't know. I don't know what I did. Anyway, 8 o'clock rings. It was like 7:59 and 57 seconds when I started dialing the number. And then at 8:01, he answered. And he was like, "I'm delighted to tell you, you've got the job and you start on Monday." I was like, what?
Wow.
Yeah, you start on Monday. And then that was that for like 12 years, I think.
Wow.
11, 12 years.
Bernie, you've got an interesting story about your drive to your first audition and then the recall.
I had roughly the same kind of experience that Matt had. Was I turned up, I drove from Cardiff, where I live, for the audition. It took me 7 hours because of traffic. So I wasn't happy. Couldn't park in the car park because that's quite famous. You can't park unless you're in the show.
Yeah,
so,
and even then you struggle, to be fair.
Well, unless you know the way, because now when I go in for do bits, you just have to go, all right, and they let you in. You don't need a security pass. Just, all right, if you look confident or carry a ladder, you're in.
When you're going for a job, you're never looking confident. That's the only thing I do. I ran in there, and I went into this room where all the actors were waiting to audition for Mr. C, and it was full of black ladies. I was the only male there, and I looked at everyone. I thought, my God. And I sat down, and I suddenly said, I must have got the job then. And then went in, and Phil Redmond was there, and he was filming it with Joe Hallows and Dorothy Andrews. And we did it for about half an hour, and then I drove back. And then my agent rang the next day saying, "Oh, they want you to go back again." So I said, "Look, I've just spent 14 hours on the road. I'm not going back, so I'm not really interested. I don't want to do it." So I put the phone down, and then within half an hour, they rang back and said, "You've got the job." So it saved me 14 hours. But then I was only actually kind of signed up for 6 episodes because they wanted to try the character out. And Ben Sheriff, who was playing Max at the time, lovely lad, and it was a very serious storyline. There was no comedy in it at all. And the girl playing Cindy was different as well. That was someone else, Laura, I think her name was. Totally, completely serious, no comedy at all. And I thought, oh, there's not a lot of legs in this. So what I'll do is I'll try and inject a bit of comedy into the 6 episodes somehow. And the only way I could do it was just by elongating my vowels. So instead of saying Max, as Matt will kind of vouch for, I used to say Max. And just met this whiny character up in these 6 episodes. So he suddenly became a buffoon instead of a very serious father. And then I left it from that. And then I was doing a series called Backup, and then they rang me up and said, "Would you come back again?" And then for the next 3 years, I was up and down the motorway commuting, doing it. And then you sign the final contract, and that was it, 10 years.
Wow.
So by trying to avoid driving, you bought yourself 10 years of commuting from Cardiff.
I know. Yeah. Well, it was easier to move in with James Redmond at the time, because it was before I moved in with you, Matt. James Redmond, I mean, you've already interviewed James. What people realise about James is that he's a very shrewd businessman. And so he was buying property everywhere and getting the rent from it because he's like that,
Is shrewd businessman code for tight? Yeah. Okay.
I was staying in a hotel. I said, "Look, how much are you paying for the hotel?" So I told him how much the hotel was. And he said, "Well, move in with me. And when you're not there, you don't have to pay," which was a lie. So I moved in with him, and we built up a friendship. And by that time, I was building up a really good relationship with Matt on set. And at that point, because I'm a very cynical bugger as an actor, I always have been. But I found one person on that set at that time who I could gel with, and that was Matt. And all the others, I liked all the others, and I loved all the actors in it. But they were all bodybuilders. Because
Matt, you weren't a bodybuilder, were you not?
I worked out. I went to the gym.
No, they weren't even going in the gym. The green room, as you could call it, a green room, was a kind of old school room. There were two settees for the actors to sit on, and on the floor was a kind of mini gym. So the actors, like Kurt and Will Miller, they'd walk in and they'd go and lie on the floor and they start doing that just to get their six packs going. And I'm sitting there going, no, come on, I'm trying to learn my lines. So it was all very different when it first started, because everyone was very kind of into looking good, and that's what the series was about. To be honest, it was about pretty people. Before it actually got any kind of meat into it, it was pretty people climbing through windows and doing things, silly things, and then they start, yeah. and then the Cunninghams came in and started kind of building a rapport with the script writers, and the script writers, to be honest, they loved writing for the Cunninghams at that time, because we started bringing humour into it and then controversy, So it was a kind of long transition into.
Sorry, when we talk about controversy, we're talking about the podium thing, yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, with the controversy, Matt, is that the time that you went to Barcelona filming?
Were you on that, Bernie? Did you go to Barca?
I was too old to go to Barca. It was full of pretty people.
I remember that you were involved in that story in some way. There was some sort of, or you were in the ep. It was like a late night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Were you in the episode?
I was in the episode, but I didn't go to Barcelona.
I went to Barcelona for 2 days and stayed for 2 months or 3 months or something ridiculous, because it was cheaper than flying me back, and I wasn't in any other episodes. And they left us at random. It was like, The Shining, the hotel in The Shining. It was about an hour outside Barcelona. There was no one else in this town that spoke any English. So, I mean, obviously, why should they? Because they're in Catalonia. Why would they need to speak English? But so we were stuck there. I didn't speak much. I think by the end of the 2 months, I could order a beer and wine. That was it. Baguette. I think Daz and I got mugged in an arcade by some local kids.
That's Fred.
That? Is it for? Oh God, exactly. Cerveza, dos.
Yeah, you're fine. You're sorted with that.
And we went mad because there was nowhere to go. There was nothing to do. It was in.
And how old were you, Matt? How old were you when you went? Because didn't you have a storyline where you had to do like a sex scene with this like gorgeous model?
I think I was about 18 at the time. So we were out there filming The Boys Do Barca late night episode. I'm 18 years old. Me and Daz are out there. And you know what? I'm whinging about like being stuck in Barcelona for months, but it was fun. We went a bit mad. We all bought scooters and dicked about around the corridors and stuff because there was just nothing around it. We were in Sabadell, which is way outside Barcelona. So you couldn't even like truck into the town and have a good time. You were just basically stuck in Wigan, but in Spain. What you were stuck in.
Without the pies.
You couldn't even get a pie. But part of my storyline as an 18-year-old was that one of the writers had decided that this thing happened to him when he was 15 or 16, that he'd gone on holiday and ended up getting off with this beautiful girl on holiday and then never saw her again. And he was like living vicariously through the storyline and wrote his experience as it happened. I don't honestly believe that it happened because I've met the guy. But no, he's a lovely bloke. But you sometimes think you've gilded the lily there slightly. Anyway, but I had to film all this properly raunchy stuff, and there was no sort of preparation for it. There was no one sort of went, listen, Matt, when you go in there, you're gonna get your dick out a lot, and everyone's gonna see it, and this really hot chick's gonna see it as well, and then you've got to pretend to have a lot of sex with her, like all over this hotel room. Basically going to smash a room up in the Marriott Hotel with you in this. And she was like 6'2" as well, and I'm like 5'10" at a push. And you're going to be carrying her around the room. You're going to be throwing her against wardrobes. It's proper like hardcore stuff. And all we're going to give you is a tiny like diamond-shaped piece of flesh-coloured material and 2 strips of like double-sided sticky tape. It wasn't easy.
Sure,
but they don't stay on though, do they?
They don't stay on, and as a young man, they don't stay on. No, they don't stay on. That's all I'm going to say. And yeah, at one point I remember we had this boom op who, God rest his soul, Tim. Was a beautiful man, but was sort of 6 foot, curly haired mank. And at one point,
mank, wasn't he, as well?
Proper, and just very dry sense of humour, Tim had. And at one point, I'm basically pretending to shag this girl, and I just made eye contact with Tim. Oh, I'll never forget it. And he was just smiling at me with his boom, just looking at me, going, "Right,
go on, lad.
Go on. You'll remember this for a long time, Matthew. Go on." Right. Oh, Tim.
Well, Bernie, you had a bit of an incident when you were travelling back from a holiday in Mallorca, didn't you? After your character storyline got a different look.
I mean, basically, in Hollyoaks at that time, you had to book a holiday a year in advance because they needed to know if you were in the storyline and all that. And my wife and my son Jack decided to go to Mallorca for a week with my mum's parents. And I hadn't seen them for ages because I was up in doing all this. My storyline at that time, Matt will remember this, I was going through my midlife crisis. So they dyed my hair as such as it is, black, and gave me a goatee black beard. And so I looked absolutely atrocious.
You look like the baddie in every sort of 80s French movie.
Yeah.
Like goatee.
And when they rang me and said they were going to Mallorca, I thought, fuck it, I'm going. So I got a briefcase with my scripts in because I was due on the Friday and I went on the Monday. I'm due on the Friday, so I've got 4 days really. So I've got my briefcase and I put on, for some odd reason, I put on a long leather coat that went down to my ankles. Got to Liverpool Airport, and the only flight to Mallorca was on a small plane via Geneva. I had to do a connection to Geneva. So I've gone Geneva into Mallorca, Palma, get to the holiday, it's fine, fantastic. And then I get a phone call on the Wednesday saying, "We want you in on Thursday." Shit. So I had to book a seat on the same kind of flight going back via Geneva. By this time, I'm panicking, and I've rushed to the airport, and the adrenaline's pumping. I've got my briefcase with my scripts in, and I'm running. I get into the airport, fly to Geneva, and then the connecting flight's on the runway waiting, and I'm running. I get up these escalators, and I'm looking completely, guilty of whatever. And there are two kind of Austrian policemen at the top of the escalators. And they just looked at me and then went, "Where have you come from?" And for some odd reason, I didn't say Palma. I said Panama. And I suddenly realised it's like coming to me. And I was strip searched.
No!
I was strip searched down again with my socks off.
There's a pattern forming, Bernie.
Luckily, I didn't have to bend down, but strip searched, and then naked and panicking. I got my briefcase and I went scripts and showed them I wasn't a drug courier.
Yeah. What'd you say? It's good for what? Huh?
It was horrible. And then got on the flight, dressed, of course, and everyone on the flight hated me because the flight had been held back for half an hour. Then got back
for the drug dealer that we were just strip searching.
Ray Neo.
Then get back on the Thursday for the shoot, only to find out they'd cancelled.
No.
So, which is very typical, So, I got caught out, so never mind.
I had a man's hand in my ass and you cancelled the damn shoot.
It was quite disorganised, but I think it was more because we had, certainly at the beginning, we had a small cast and all of a sudden going from like 2 episodes to 5 episodes all of a sudden. And Matt, you remember the time with your comic relief storyline?
Oh yeah, do you remember that, Bernie? So we had a storyline with comic relief where it was kind of around the point where they didn't really know what to do with Max and OP, and I think it was basically down to the fact that we weren't young teenagers sort of in between our age anymore, and we weren't yet like 21, 22, 23 where you can go and like do something. And we had this sort of 18-month period where all Max and Obi did was do like Christmas Inc. or Easter Inc. or Summer Inc. And it was like one failed attempt at a business after another that were generally just designed from the ground up to be really shit business ideas. And one of the business ideas was that we were going to, and thinking about it, it didn't make much sense anyway. We were going to make our own red noses for comic relief, make them and sell them ourselves, and also sell like something as it was red noses, and then we were going to keep the money. I mean, we'd have been better off getting a load of actual red noses and selling the real red noses, but just keeping the money and not donating it to comic relief. But that, by the by, Max and OB were painting red noses. And the idea being that the storyline was that they were going to get rumbled right at the last minute, and Lenny Henry was going to ride in on a Harley into the village, and he was going to come like full leathers, helmet on, Darth Vader style, and threaten us, and then we were going to donate all the money to comic relief. And the moral in the story was, don't do that, kids.
Don't steal from charity.
Don't steal from charity, and do the right thing if Lenny Henry arrives. So we'd done this whole storyline for like a good 6 weeks building up to it, and all that was left to shoot were the scenes with Lenny Henry, and they were due to be shot on like a Wednesday or something. And I walk up to the production office, and lovely Ross Knowles is up there. He's one of the ADs. Was just stood looking at the board, like, a bit perplexed. I was like, "All right, Ross." He was like, "Yeah." Anyway, he just breezes out and walks into the production office and chatting to the production managers, and I can just see like a script getting thrown in the air, and like someone shouting at someone else. I'm like, "Oh, something's going on here." I wonder what Ross was looking at. I look at this board, and I'm like, "Oh, they're my scenes." What? Oh, okay. Wonder what's going on. Looking forward to meeting Lenny Henry tomorrow. Turns out they hadn't booked Lenny Henry. They hadn't been in contact with Lenny Henry or anyone on Lenny Henry's team, or it turns out anyone at Comic Relief or their team. Or this is the story I was fed anyway. That that thing hadn't been done. They just done the story. Like no one had rang Richard Curtis and gone, "Mate, we've got this idea. Can we do it?" I don't think it had happened. And so then there was like, we're not going to shoot those tomorrow. We're going to try and get Lenny for next week. I think then someone's rang Comic Relief and gone, "IX Hollyoaks, we've done a big storyline. Can we borrow Lenny Henry for a day?" And they've gone, no, you can't. He's Lenny Henry. And also, what storyline? Were you going to run this by us? Anyway, I think in the end, like it got smoothed over. I think emails were found, stuff had been said, due diligence had been performed, but we didn't get Lenny Henry. We got Nick Knowles instead. So we had to substitute Lenny Henry for Nick Knowles. And you know what? Nick Knowles turned up and was brilliant. It was gracious and equally as scary as Lenny Henry would have been. And that, as they say, is that how it happened. Ozzy got the M&Ms and he did a bloody good show.
No, I never knew.
Did you not know? It's really interesting because you guys, obviously, you played father and son on the show, but your relationship is really, you are that close with each other, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Matt, I know that when Bernie left, it really got to you, I think.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I think Bernie left quite abruptly, and then for me as a young man, like having someone like Bernie live with me kept me kind of on the straight and narrow. We were partying every night. Everyone's like, it's easy to sort of be quite, led astray. Not that, nothing untoward was happening to anyone else, but what I mean is you can quite easily lose yourself a little bit in that kind of lifestyle and devalue people and relationships and things. And Bernie was very good at had a good moral compass. Very so for you there, Bernie. Well done. And then when Bernie left, I didn't really know where to put myself. I didn't really know how to be a young man out and about, and it was a catalyst in me, going off and finding and lovely friends and whatnot. But it was a hard time for me because I always had that soundboard of Bernie to bounce against. And you left, and then he came back a couple of months later.
As a ghost.
Yeah, as a ghost. You were in it for like a year as a ghost, but I didn't.
You weren't in any of the episodes, were you?
No. So it was like Bernie came back. I was like, "Oh, great, Bernie's back!" But we weren't then like giving each other lifts into work because we never had the same call times because we never in the same scenes. I think we were in one scene together in the entire year he was back.
Wow.
And we didn't have a line to each other. I think it was a missed opportunity actually because there could have been a sort of.
I have to say, at that point, I mean, to me, Hollyoaks was quite brutal in the way they managed actors and storylines and things like that. I mean, we used to, I think I told you this, Kelly, a week ago. We used to have what's called contract chat time on the phone, round about March, where Joe Hallows would ring up and say, right, we'd like to offer you another year's contract and things like that. And Matt and I had a rapport with each other anyway. And I was in Cardiff at the time, and it was March. And what I remember is Matt ringing me up saying, I've had a phone call, Bern. I've got another year. Have you had your phone call? I went, no, not yet. So that went by the by. And then 4 days later, Joe's on the phone. She went, hi, Bernard. And I just went, so when are you killing me off? And there was this silence. On the other end. She said, who have you been talking to? I said, no one. I said, but, you know, I've been in this business for 40 years. I'm not that thick. So you're going to kill me off? She said, yeah, we're going to kill you and Kath off because Phil wants a double death. So I said, wow. It'll be fine. But it was then, so how long have we got? Then we were negotiating how many episodes it would be. And it was going to be, we're going to send you off really well over Christmas. And so by the time that phone call went and then I went in, I only had about another 2 or 3 months with Matt.
It was very abrupt.
I had heart attack, survived the heart attack, and then get rammed by the lorry and then die. And then Kath dies a week later. So it was quite brutal and quite quick. Good party, good farewell party. That was the only good thing. But then I was doing a reality TV programme in North Wales with Ruth Maddock and Janet Street Porter. And we were supposed to, you know, one of those kind of Big Brother things, but in Welsh, because I live in Cardiff. And it's one of those learning Welsh competition. And I had my mobile with me, which I wasn't supposed to have. And it went off in the middle of this scene I was doing. This was in front of cameras. And it was Joe Hallows. It's a bit inconvenient, Joe, I'm on telly. I just want to offer you a job. Oh, what's that? Mr. Cunningham coming back to Hollyoaks. And the shock was so much that live on TV on S4C I went, I'm fucking dead. She said, yes, we know you're dead. We shouldn't have killed you. And we apologise for that. But when you come back as a ghost in a white suit, and I went, that's Randall and Upkirk deceased, 1970 series. I'm not doing that. And then we had this long conversation while this camera was running where I'm going, I'm not doing that. I said, that's silly. It's just making a joke of it. No. And I'm doing panto. I'm doing panto in Redditch. So she said, we'll work around that. What do you want? So I said, well, let me be, you know, a figment of someone's imagination. And that was where the Bombhead thing came with, making a responsible storyline, it was a fabulous storyline to be in. Yeah. Unfortunate that Matt wasn't in it because it was OB and Bombhead.
Yeah.
Quite weird.
But you had other stuff going on at that time when you were kind of leaving as well, because didn't you go to Africa? Isn't this the start of kind of what started what you're doing now?
Well, in 2003, 2 years before I left, I got a phone call from a really good friend of mine, a diplomat called Peter Penfold, who was the High Commissioner of Sierra Leone. And Sierra Leone in Africa had kicked off 2 years before. And they were doing unbelievable things to people. And he rang me up and came to the house and said, look, I'd like to go to Sierra Leone to direct this choir. So I said, all right, what do you want me to do with them? So he said, well, bring them over to the UK, tour the UK, and then the final concerts in Westminster Abbey. And by the way, they're all blind. So I went, all right then. So I booked 2 weeks holiday because, you know, I lied to HR at Hollyoaks and said, I'm doing this, blah, blah, blah. Got off with it, flew to Sierra Leone, and the war had just finished. And then met these kids, and they were brilliant, and they were all blind. 4 of them had been deliberately blinded in the war. One beautiful girl who was a soprano singer had her eyes taken out when she was 9, and she was 13 when I met her. And, you know, you reach a point in your life where you just think, this is actually important. And so for 2 weeks, I'd set the show up with them, took them over to the UK, did this fantastic concert in Westminster Abbey, and then I had to wave them all goodbye. And I just said to Jane, I want to do this. So then we volunteered for the RNIB and found they didn't have an arts department. So Jane and I just started our own company. And that was in 2003. And then we launched it in 2005 when I just left Hollyoaks.
Yeah.
And it just took off from there. Originally, I had 12 blind kids from Cardiff. And I was very lucky because they were really gifted. Put on a show at the Sherman Theatre. And now I've got 700.
Wow.
Kids. So it's been brilliant. And that's basically, I do that now. I direct mostly. I've done about 40 shows with blind kids and with autistic kids and all that. And it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And the idea of doing it is really just to kind of give them employment, because blind people are ignored, as most disabled people are. I mean, they're doing it in soaps now. They're putting a disabled person in each soap, which is fine, but they could do more. And I've got some really good, talented people, so that's what I'm into.
That's wonderful. It really is wonderful. And I think Matt can forgive you for leaving so abruptly.
Yeah.
Yeah, Matt, there's other people that need Mr. C. It's not just you. It's not all about you.
But if you want to find out more, I mean, we're called You Can Productions.
Yeah, we can put it on our links and everything, and everybody can access it.
Because we have a radio station and we're doing podcasts and things like that. I've got these wonderfully talented people who want to be actors. Some don't want to be in the theatre at all. They just want a voice, and drama, So it's just empowering kind of disabled people. And it's worth doing because they just make my life a bit richer for it, Because everything, I mean, I don't have an agent anymore. I do, things for friends. If people want me to film something, I'll do all that. But that's not my life anymore now. My life is really, I've got a pension now. So I'm semi-retired. I just do what I want to do. And that's the way it should be. I've been very, very lucky, Kelly, to be honest. I've met some lovely people. I've worked with some great people, Matt Littler included. And I've had I started in 1969. It's been a long, long career.
Yeah.
And I can't fault it really, but I've finished my career, or I'm finishing my career in what I call a high, because I'm doing what I think is important,
Yeah. Matt, when you left, you had a change of career, really, didn't you? Because you started presenting when you left.
Yeah, Dad and I went off and did a load of presenting in London. We did stuff for Channel 4. We worked for Red Bull and did a load of the music festivals and did a couple of shows for T4. But Daz and I always had sort of, we were never just happy just turning up and doing it. We always wanted to do it. If there's I didn't just want to make it, wanted to like produce it.
Yeah.
So we started to, we always had this idea of doing a video game show. Both of us were into video games. And we came up with this concept, and it's probably a very tired concept now. It's like Top Gear meets video games. And we would like all over this. And we went into Channel 4 with the guy who produced the Red Bull show we'd just been on. And Channel sort of said, it's a really good idea, lads. It's a really good idea, but we don't get it. We're not gamers and we don't understand it. Can you draw something or can you make us something? So we went away and then spent like kind of all our savings on making a pilot for the show, took it back to Channel 4 and they watched it and were like, oh yeah, it's a really good idea. We'll commission that then. So they commissioned it, and then unfortunately, just as we went into production, it got, T4 came off the air, and that meant that there was no home for it. So we kind of went away and licked our wounds because it had been a long time coming.
How long have you been preparing for it?
A long time. We've been sort of like the things you do, like sourcing locations, building sets, doing all those.
Yeah.
But these things happen. These things do happen.
Yeah.
It's not surprising. And we then, like I say, went away, licked our wounds, and a year later tried again with Red Bull as a main sponsor, as a piece of like sponsored content. And Red Bull were like, yeah, we want a video game show. We're going to have our own TV channel, and it's going to be amazing. And we're going to make one with you guys in the UK, and we're going to make one with some guys in America, but the American one's going to have to appeal to the whole world. So no local humour, like none of this, it's just going to be international stars. And I was like, okay, cool. So we made ours with our sort of British ilk of humour and like taking the mickey out of people. And Red Bull sort of got both pilots back, and we're like, which one are we going to make? Those cheeky, like Cockney people, or the international version? And they made the international version, not ours.
Oh, no.
I think at that point, after 2 pilots and like 1 commission, we kind of went, oof. And at that point as well, I felt like I was getting older. And the reason I'd left Hollyoaks was to retrain as a director. I wanted to make films, as that's what Daz and I were trying to do. So I started doing like jobbing in London, like producer directing, location directing, researching, working at places like Pulse Films and ITV and all over the show like that. So that kind of started my kind of formal training in production, behind the scenes stuff. And then since then, I've taken that on and had a few proper jobs, actual proper turn up and do jobs.
You've been directing Hollyoaks, haven't you?
I didn't know I was supposed to direct Hollyoaks when I left.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was supposed to go back and direct, but then one thing led to another, and time had passed. And then when I went back and was like, oh gosh, I've been in London doing all this stuff, training, learning how to produce and make things. Can I come and direct Hollyoaks? They were like, you had your chance, Matt. You had your chance.
Oh no!
Okay, yeah. So yeah, that's one of those things.
It's kind of a good thing, because you wouldn't have probably set up your company that you've got now had you gone and spent your time at Hollyoaks.
No, I wouldn't have set up. No, we wouldn't be doing what we're doing now. I've just literally run back in from a shoot now. I drove home very fast to make this podcast.
It's not breaking the speed limit though, Matt. Definitely not breaking the speed limit. Not that fast. No,
didn't break the speed limit because I just did my speed awareness course online.
Yes, I know you did. So you're aware now of the speed limits and what you have to do. That speed awareness course, Matt, was very useful for you.
Can I ask you, is your father still a speed cop?
No, he's not. No.
Hold on, your dad used to be a speed cop and you've just been on a speed awareness course. That's just genius.
Bad reception. Oh God.
No.
Oh no.
So tell us about your production company, Matt.
We are Analog Films, and we specialise in solving problems through cinema. And so I'm a drone pilot, editor, producer. I've sort of done a few of the jobs. I'm at risk of being a generalist, which I'm definitely not, but I can solve many problems. And then just before late March, we pivoted and started to offer virtual reality as a medium. Wow. I've been doing VR for a long time, since like 2017, since like before all the kids were doing it. I was doing it then. And we are now, just sort of racking up the VR jobs. So I've just come back I was filming in an operating theatre in a hospital in Liverpool this evening. Sort of helping, so that what that piece of content will do is we'll help the hospital help post-COVID. How do people visit the hospital, and also how can they reduce the number of people that need to visit sites? So, for example, you're pregnant and you're going in to have your tour.
Am I? Oh my God! Don't tell me that. Two's enough.
Hell! Oh no!
Don't do it to me. No.
No, you're not.
This is why I have the padded cell.
Yeah. I've been told that Darth Vader is very close to you there. So you're pregnant and you want to go and tour the birthing pools and maternity suites at Liverpool Women's Hospital. Well, rather than go in and increase the volume of people on site, you can do it in VR now. You can wear a headset and look around and go, ooh, I hope we get room 6. Oh, look at that. That corridor's quite long. Oh, we'll use them stairs to get up because that lift's horrible. So, do all that sort of stuff.
And then all that actually does go out of the window when you get there giving birth.
Yeah.
Because plans go out the window, as you know, because you've got 2 children?
I have 2 kids and a dog. 2, yeah.
2 little girls.
Got Willow, who's 6, and Robin, who's 2. Willow's about 8 feet that way. Robin's about 12 feet that way. The dog's about 20 feet that way. And the dog's 8 weeks old, and it doesn't sleep, and it wheezes and poos everywhere. It's a great time to buy a dog.
They do at 8 weeks old, Matt. That's what they do. You have to train them.
Nobody told me this.
And Bernie, you're writing a book, so I believe.
You know, since lockdown.
How cool.
Well, I mean, what do you do at lockdown? I mean, I love lockdown, to be honest, because I've got a nice garden. I'm looking at the garden now. So I just sat here and I thought, well, I'm reading all these books, and I just wanted to kind of start looking at myself, really. So I started writing a book. I'm writing two. The second one's a serious one. This one is basically my life from 1969 to the present day, and it's to do with theatre and television. So it's that look at that and so I've called that My Bottom in Africa and Other Such Adventures. Because I played bottom in Midsummer Night's Dream in Uganda. So it's all about that, and then Hollyoaks, mentioning everyone's names. No naughty. I'm not embarrassing anyone, but I do in the 70s. I was an angry young man in the 70s, and very political. I do have a go at a couple of people and name them and shame them, and I've got no compunction about that because they were arseholes. So I mentioned that. I make no apologies for it, and I've written this book, and I've nearly finished. I've got 2 more years to talk about, and then I'm going to write the serious one, which is from my birth to the reason I became an actor, which is my private life with my mum and dad, and within, which is quite a violent kind of story. So I want to kind of underwrite this bit, which is quite glib, with the reason why it's glib. So that's what I've been doing.
Kind of like J.R. Tolkien with The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit.
Yeah, because the Hobbit's a small story, isn't it?
Yeah.
So my second book will be a small story, but it'll be the reason for it. You know, that's what I'm doing. And I've enjoyed every single minute about writing it. I find my long-term memory is better than my short-term memory. So I remember everything from the 60s, the 70s, and the 80s. But from that, I've had to use Google. 90s, present day, I'm Googling everything. Like name spelling, names. You know, it's really hard. It's just dreadful. And because we're going through this kind of position at the moment with the country, it's just, you know, it's nonsensical what's happening. I mean, friends of mine have died. My mum's in hospital with COVID at the moment. So there's a lot going on, and you need a release from all that kind of angst. And all I can find to do is just write what I feel, you know. So that's what I'm doing.
Matt, you looked quite relieved. Yeah. Matt, you looked quite relieved then when Bernie said he wasn't going to mention any names, but both James Redmond and Daz have been on with the same story for you. And it involves, for Matt, and apparently you were in the room next door, Bernie, and I don't think I can share much of it on air, to be fair to you, Matt, but I just thought I'd let you know that they're trying to stitch you up about the time you accidentally got headbutted by a girl.
Nah, never happened. Don't know what you're talking about.
Do you not? Shall I go a bit further in? Look at that face. So there was some advice. She misses in the room. There was some advice given to you by some of the Hollyoaks boys that ended up with you coming down the stairs with a bloody nose and a girl running out of the house.
Don't know. No idea what you're talking about.
Was it not you? Yeah. Maybe it was Bernie.
Must have been Bernie.
Maybe it was Bernie.
No,
when he had his goatee and his dyed hair.
No, definitely not me. And it wasn't that either. I know who it was, and it wasn't him.
It definitely was. Okay.
Do the show, but would stitch me up.
Yeah, well, you could stitch him up when he comes on. So if you could describe your Hollyoaks journey in 3 words, what would it be, Matt?
Oh, a right laugh.
A right laugh. Spell R-I-T-E.
Right laugh.
Yeah, but not like right.
Oh, right, like 90s way. Yeah, right. Yeah, right laugh.
Yeah. You never were cool, though, you Matt.
I remember me and Bernie dancing around the living room in our house to Supergrass, just dicking about, like nowhere to go, nowhere to be, just having a laugh.
And what about you, Bernie? 3 words to describe your Hollyoaks journey.
I've only got 2.
I'm worried.
Alcoholic bollocks.
Brilliant.
Yeah, there was a lot of drinking. There was a lot of drinking.
There was a lot of drinking.
Remember, isn't it, Matt?
What's that, man?
That's all we can remember.
Like, there was some days where you'd have like a 7 o'clock call, and you'd like my benchmark used to slip further and further down. It was like, if I've got a 7 o'clock call, I need to be in bed by like 11. And then like 4 years later, my 7 o'clock call was over. If I get in bed at 4, if I get an hour, then I'll be all right for set, because then I've got an hour to learn my lines, and then I'll be able to drive to work. Like you slowly, like, you go from being an innocent sort of early teens to, by the time you're in your late teens, that's it.
You're done.
You're done. You're pickled.
I used to have this thing, because I'm never late, so I'm always half an hour on set before the crew arrive, because basically I'm suffering for a half hour. I just need to kind of know what it is I'm doing. What scenes am I doing? Where am I doing it? Where am I doing it? And who's the director? So that's all my kind of preparation. I remember one of the actors, I can't remember his name now, bless him, he came up to me, he was brand new onto Hollyoaks, and he came up and he had a handful of books under his arm, and he was one of those actors who wanted to be an actor, not a model or anything like that. And he said, "Bern, will you have a look at these books and tell me which is the most important to read as an actor?" And he had, I think it was all Stanislavski shite and stuff like that. And it was actor prepares, building a character, and I just threw him in the bin. He said, "Buy a book by Michael Green." So he wrote it down. He said, "What's it called?" I said, "It's called The Art of Course Acting." And he said, "What's it about?" I said, "It's about how to die on stage, not look a dick." It's basically that. And I still use it. It's a brilliant book. It's a funny book. The way to die on stage is always die behind the couch. So that just your feet are showing, because then you can read a book. Because I made the mistake of doing a play at the Stables Theatre Club in Manchester, where it was in a gentleman's toilet, the set, and I was a dead person in one of the toilets, and the two policemen come on stage, and and it was Richard Wilson, you know, I don't believe it, it was him as a detective, and he opens the door of the toilet and finds me sitting on the toilet having a shit, but my throat's been cut. So I'm lying there like that. Now, the secret of that was make sure the door shuts, because if you're going to look like that when they open the door, you've got about 40 minutes of the play to go. So you want that door to shut. So they shut the door, but they didn't bolt it. And so as soon as the door shut, I sat up, and then the door started opening. And so I had to do that for 40 minutes. And so I bought this book saying, right, next time, check the doors, but die behind a couch with just your feet showing. And that's the art of course acting, and that's how to get on in the theatre and on television. Lie like a fucker.
I've lied a lot.
Did you use that book for your dying scene? Because I rewatched it again recently, and I was like in floods of tears when Max died.
My first job in telly, remember the dramatisation Moll Flanders? Without in it. My first job on telly was Moll Flanders, and it was like, all right, you got an audition for Moll Flanders, you're playing a street urchin. It's like, can you ride a horse? I was like, yeah, I can ride a horse. Everyone can ride a horse. Yeah, of course. Okay, great. So in this scene, you're just going to run along here, blah, 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 jump on the horse, and then she'll carry you off on the horse, and then you're fine. It's like, yeah, cool. Never ridden a horse in my life, ever. And this thing was like, I think I was 11 at the time. This horse was like 6'4", like it just felt like an elephant over me. And I'm like, can I just hold on to the horse? Can I just, do I have to ride the horse? Can I just hold on? I'll lead the horse out. Can I hold the horse? It's a bigger horse than I'm used to. I'm used to much smaller horses. Come in. And then anyway, eventually they sort of clicked on. Never ridden a horse, have you? I was like, no, never ridden a horse. No. Okay, you, pointing to the lad next to me, can you ride a horse? This lad was like, yeah, I can ride a horse. I looked at him and thought, you fucking liar, you can't ride a horse. You just got bigger balls than me. Yeah, this lad couldn't ride a horse. It went to shit, but it went to shit for him on set. It went to shit for me beforehand. I was just then an extra.
Yeah.
still got the money. This kid was, last time he was seen, bolting down the inside of a big sound stage with a horse in head of him, like holding up to the train, just falling off. So we all lie. All actors lie.
Yes. But going back to Max, because you won a National Television Award for that performance, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Which must have been a really nice way to kind of leave the show.
Lovely bookmark. Really nice way to leave, actually. And it was cool because the awards happened I think 3 or 4 months after I'd left. So I'd gone, had a bit of time off, had an haircut, had an holiday, and then come back and then did the awards. And it's like one of my best mates, Steve, directed it. And we had a great writer, Chris, as well. It was like the dreams.
Chris Gill's brilliant.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah.
But those guys had sort of come together. I remember on the day of the scene, Steve Brett was really, really ill, like proper flu, like aching, you can't. But he came in. He's like, I am doing this scene. This is like I am doing it, and he got through it, shaking like a shitting dog all the way through this scene, and he got it done. It was brilliant, and he won a National Television Award for it. So yeah, I was really happy. The whole team, the producers, when it was a big thing for Brian as well. He got his sort of big accolade there. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that might be us for the evening. So I just want to say thank you so much to both of you for coming on the show. Really
Can I
appreciate
tell one
it.
more story? One last story.
What? Go on. What story? Only if it's good gossip.
Remember read-throughs?
Yeah.
So no one will know that that's how it used to go down. So every Thursday night after we finished filming, the entire cast would go to the canteen and we'd read the newest batch of scripts that had just come out. So the read-through started at when we were 1 ep a week, the read-through was done in 30 minutes. But by the time we were at 3 eps a week, it was a fair old chunk of time on a Thursday night. And anyway, one week, I remember it was brilliant. Everyone always used to try and get out of read-throughs. Nobody could be bothered doing it. Everyone wanted to get out of read-throughs. And there was always sort of some high creative excuse as to why you couldn't go to a read-through. Anyway, we're all sat down this read-through. And it's got almost like a register, Kelly, you there? Yeah. Bernie, yeah. James, Dal, yeah. Everyone's around. Matt, yeah. And Paul Denan's name got read out. Where's Paul? He was on set earlier. He was on set earlier. Maybe he asked somebody. Anyway, Joe Hallows gonna ring Paul. Oh, okay, yeah. Ring Paul. Hello, Paul. You there? He's like, hi, hello. You all right? It's like, Paul.
Babes. He says babes all the time. Babes.
Oh, mate. And it's like, Paul, where are you? It's read-through. It's Thursday night. It's oh my God, yeah. You know what's happened? I'm at home. I'm in my car at home, and all the electrics have gone. I'm not going to try and do Paul's accent because I'm not really good. All the electrics have gone on my car, so I can't actually drive back to set. I'm really sorry, guys. As Joe leans back in a chair, looks out the window in the canteen into the car park and sees Paul in his car on his mobile to Joe. She was like, Paul, I'm looking at you now. You're in your car in the car park. And do you know what he did? So I love Paul so much. He had such big balls. He started his car and drove off. Just left.
Paul Denan was a legend.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
I bumped into him recently. We ended up sharing a train journey back from London, and he's not changed at all. He's still lovely. He's mad.
Such a nice guy as well.
You should get Paul on the show, Kelly. You should get
Paul.
Well,
we have been messaging, so I'm hoping that's going to be one that happens.
Yeah.
But like I say, thank you.
Night he spent with Samuel L. Jackson in the nicest possible way.
Yeah, I think we'll have to do like a 2-hour special if you got Paul on with all his antics that you got up to. But thank you both so much for coming on. I really do appreciate it, and I hope that you've had a good time reminiscing on the show.
Yeah, Bernie, it's lovely to see you, mate. Really lovely to see you.
Same here. And best of luck with the family. You've still got the funds control.
Thanks very much, guys.
The kids I can handle. It's the dog. Do you want to buy a dog? Does anyone want to buy a dog?
I'll have a dog. What kind of dog is it?
The sausage dog. Do you want to see the dog?
Yeah, I want to see the dog.
Hang on. Stay there. I'll show you the dog.
This is what happens. I keep saying bye and go, and you don't fuck off.
Is that a round window?
It's what?
Is that a round window he's got there?
I think it might be a mirror.
Oh, it's a window. It's either that or he's in a submarine.
Maybe he is.
The appropriately named Loki.
Oh, he's cute.
She, the god of mischief.
Oh, sorry, she.
She.
Where are you speaking?
Of course, Loki's. Yeah, okay.
What's up?
Where are you speaking from?
Home, my office.
Where?
In the house.
Yeah, where?
Liverpool.
Oh, Liverpool. Is that the flat that you bought when I was back there?
Yes, still here.
With the round window?
Yeah, that's the round window.
Right, the round window.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, still here.
Right, I'm going to just say, right, can you fuck off now, please?
Bye, Loki.
Thank you, Mike.
Goodbye. Thank you so much. Speak to you soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, Matt.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week, Thursday, 8:30 at the Dog in the Pond on YouTube.